So this is the Internet History document. Click in it, do an edit, select all. Then go to Format menu and go to the Paragraph dialog box. Now in the Paragraph dialog box, our alignment is going to be justified. There's going to be like a professional article like you might find in a magazine or a newspaper. We're not doing any indentation to the left or the right. That'd be the entire paragraph. We don't want to do it. But we do want a first line indent. So select first line and do a 0.3. So it should be first line and then 0.3. You can use the arrows here on this, or you can highlight. If you just type 0.3, you don't have to put the inch symbol. It automatically knows it's inches. Now for the spacing here, we're not doing any special spacing above or below. We are going to do our line spacing is going to be 1.5. So it'll be somewhere in between double and regular. It'll look kind of like double spacing, but just not as wide. And if you look in the preview box here, you will see what you're doing. So if you're not sure what's happening, you get a preview there to give you some idea. Then we're going to hit OK. So we have our, this here is justified, and then we have this here. Now we're going to put this in columns. We have not done columns yet. So go to the Format menu. Okay. Now, column, I don't think it matters if your text is selected, because the columns are going to move everything based on the columns that we make. So go to Format menu, and where do you think you go for columns?
Columns.
Columns. It says columns right there, smack dab in the middle. Okay, now by default, your entire document, whether you've ever thought of this or not, probably not, is one column. Okay? Now, they do have ways you can customize sizes and what columns would look like and their widths and everything, but we're not going to do that. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to click on 2. See where it says 2 up here? So we're going to turn our, if you look over in the preview here, it'll turn our 1-column document into now a 2-column document.
That's not what ours
Now, what?
That's not what ours looks
Yours doesn't look like this?
like.
Mine has like one on top and then two.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. Yep.
Yours has 1 on top.
Look, just look.
It might have to do with what is selected.
I selected the
Is your cursor somewhere other than the first paragraph? Because if you put it there, it might start your columns there.
Maybe it's your computer because everybody's is like.
Let me try it. I'm just going to try something here. I'm going to put my cursor purposely in the second paragraph. And I'm going to go to Format and Columns. And I'm going to click on 2. Nope, it still did it. Go figure.
Put your cursor in the first paragraph.
Okay. So it didn't look like that was the issue. That's kind of strange. Okay, I'm going to go back to columns here. Okay, I'm going to go to 2. Now, yours still has a picture here that looks like the columns don't start at the top.
We got it now.
Got it now? It's working, whatever.
No, I like the paragraph.
Okay. Now the this spacing here in between, I find a 1/2 inch as being a little bit too big. This is a spacing in between your 2 columns. So if you, let's knock this down to 0.3. Okay, so what we're doing here, see this space right here goes right between your columns? I find from experience 1/2 inch is pretty big. So we're going to knock this down to 0.3, which will automatically change this here to probably 2.85. Okay. And, okay. When you did, okay, if yours did that, it might be that your widths and that are a little bit different. Let's go back to that. Let's go to Format and go to Document. Okay, everyone, okay, my document's at 1.25, which is wrong. That's, you know why? Remember we changed the default, but see, this is an old document I opened up that I made a long time ago. So I personally need to change this to
How
1.
did you get there?
Oh, you just go to Format and Document. Okay? So it turned out my document was wrong, not yours. Okay? So now that I did that, let me just double check the columns again. And now my column says 3.1. So you guys are correct. If you got 3.1, you're fine. And 0.3 for there.
Yeah.
And then mine is like this. Now I noticed when I did that, my justified's gone.
Look how weird ours looks.
I don't know, did your justify go away? Mine did for some reason. So I'm gonna go back to my paragraph. I'm gonna select all.
This is
I don't know why my justify went away. I'm going to do a, oh, by the way, I lost all my formatting. I don't even have my first line indent. So I'm going to click here. Maybe you don't have to do it. I do. I reselected this. I went back to paragraph dialog box. I don't know why, but I lost my formatting. Kind of a mystery there. So I'm just redoing what, if yours is working, you don't have to do this. So I did the justify, the first line 0.3, and the 1.5 lines right there. Okay? Okay, I'm going to deselect right now. So right now we have a 2-column format. We have a 0.3 of an inch in between. We have our paragraph formatting on here, so we're off to a good start. Now we're going to put internet history at the top, but it's not going to be normal text. Okay? I'm screen recording this, so if you miss some, you can watch it.
I'll go on Classroom.
Okay. But it won't be on Google Classroom until I'm done with the lesson.
All right.
Okay, so I'm now going to go to a text box. Okay, why are we using a text box? I'll tell you why. We want to put a title up here. We do not want to take it out of the normal space down below the inch margin, nor do we want it in a header. Titles are not designed to be in headers because it would go on every page. Remember, anything in the title and a header or footer goes on every page. All I want is a text box here, and we're going to put, let's put history of the internet. History of the internet. Now, when we do that, we're going to make it 18-point, bold, and centered. Now, when you center it, it centers it within the text box.
Wow.
So it depends on where you did this. Now, here's a little trick. You could manually drag this around to where it looks pretty centered. But if you want to absolutely get it centered, I drag the width of the text box all the way to both sides. Now when I do a center, it's now perfectly centered on my document. Okay? Now that is done in a text box. We're going to do one more text box near the top. We're going to click here and make another text box. And this one's going to be a little small one over here. What do you think we're going to put in it? Our name. So put by and put your name. If it doesn't fit, make your text box a little bigger. Move the text box somewhere where it looks good up around here. Like mine looks good about like that. So we did both of those with a text box. Okay? Now my text box there is kind of cutting off a little bit, so I'm going to drag it down just a little there to make it look better. It's a little tricky. It takes some practice. By the way, if you haven't done an update save, now would be a good time to do a save. I hope I didn't save that because I want to leave my text in there. I'm going to do a save as and do internet history complete and save it to my desktop. So I have a different version. Okay, so we got our 2 columns. We got our paragraph formatting. We got text boxes here with our name. Now we're going to do what's called a pull quote. What is a pull quote? A pull quote is when you pull a line out of this and you put it in the middle big as a quote. So we are going to okay, we're going to pull our pull quote from the first sentence of the paragraph that begins with the World Wide Web was developed by Tim Berners-Lee. So it may be on your second page like mine is. Go ahead and highlight that whole sentence. It'll save you a little bit of typing. So highlight the sentence that says the World Wide Web was developed by Tim Berners-Lee and other scientists at CERN, the European Nuclear Research Center in Switzerland. So if you highlight that, we're not going to do a cut because obviously we don't want to remove it. We're going to do a copy. Now we're going to do here, I don't know if you know you can do this, but we're going to click on, we're going to make a text box. So deselect whatever you had selected. Go ahead and make a text box. And I'm going to drag mine a little bit off here to the right. Whoop. Just a minute, it's kind of running out of space. I guess I gotta go down here and make it. I'm gonna make, let's see, it's not letting me make it. Let me select another one there. Okay, now let me make one. At first, for whatever reason, mine clicked off. When in doubt, go back and reselect. I'm gonna paste that in. Don't worry about the squiggly green line. Okay, we pasted in that first sentence that we copied.
Mine's different.
Okay. Is your text different than that? I'm just looking to see if I pulled up. No, this comes from the last paragraph.
The thing that you dropped on yours is different
The World Wide Web was developed.
than mine. Yeah, on my
But-
second page it starts with Nuclear Research Center and stuff.
Okay, yours might have started out a little bit different. I don't know if I accidentally opened one that got slightly different text, but I believe I'm looking at the handout you guys have right now. So you should have this line of text somewhere. The World Wide Web was developed by Tim Berners-Lee and the other scientists at CERN. Okay, so if you have, you should have that. So just copy and paste it into a text box. Now we're going to make this 14 point italic. And I don't think we need to make it bold. I think that's probably fine right there. 14 point and italic. Now we're going to do a couple of things with this box. Double click on the edge of it so it brings up this format menu up here. Okay, we just have to find fill in line. So for the fill, let's put a really light gray in there. I'm going to do the second one right after here. Do a really light gray. And then for the line, I don't think we even need the line. We'll skip the line. We'll just do the fill here. Now we want our text box to be a little bit bigger than our text. In other words, the text box doesn't have to be like that. That would not look good. Okay, so we want to make it just a little bit bigger. Now you might say, what are you going to do with that text box, Mr. Rio? Watch this. Drag it up to your first page if it's not on there. It probably isn't. And we're going to drag it up in the middle of your first page. Question?
Mine says that like it won't let me put a drawing object in the text box, but I highlighted it or copied that.
One way or the other, you should be able to copy and paste text into a text box.
Oh, I can't.
Did you go somewhere like an empty spot on your page like I did?
Yeah. I put mine exactly.
And you could not make a text box here?
I made a text box, it just won't let me paste it into it.
Did you put your cursor in the text box? And it still didn't let you paste in?
It gave me a pop-up saying that I can't put a drawing object.
Okay, I'll look at it later. I don't know what's going on. Just watch for now and we'll try to fix it later. Okay, now when you drag this up here, it might already have a wrap on it, but in case you don't know what text wrap is, I'm introducing you officially to text wrap. So first put it somewhere where it looks reasonably good. Like for me, this looks reasonably good. Now they may have there's an option to drag it a little bigger or to adjust the shape of it. Now here's what I mean by reasonably good. First of all, select it after you drag it up here. And if it is wrapping, great. If it's not, then we need to go up here to text wrap. Now if you don't see text wrap, double click the border of this so it brings up this format toolbar. So if you don't see this same toolbar as I do, you might need to double click the edge of it. Then go up to text wrap and select tight. Now what is tight? Tight means it's going to put the words around it relatively close to it. Now just as long as we're here demonstrating, they have square, which will just make a square around it, which isn't going to look much different because it's already kind of square. They have a behind the text, if you want to put it literally behind text. They have it in front of the text, but then it covers up the text, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then they got in line with the text, which is kind of weird. It kind of treats it like it's a word in the sentence. Okay, but most commonly you're going to use tight. Now, you've seen these before in magazines and maybe newspapers. They use them all the time. They're called a pull quote. Now, when you're dragging it around, right now, I'm not happy with the way that looks. And here's why. It put a weird gap here, and this here doesn't really look that great. It looks like I just threw it on there and gave no care what it looks like. So what I'm going to do here is try to resize this a little bit. Okay, I might have to drag it a little less wide. Notice when I resize it, I also want this to look reasonably good here too. Okay. Now that looks, I like the way the box looks here. Now this pull quote, I have some flexibility. I can move it even down here if I wanted to. Anywhere on the first page that looks good is fine with me. Okay, it's called a pull quote. I don't really like the way that looks. Let's see here. I'm trying to get it to look good. Okay. I got a little bit of room there. I might try to drag this tiny bit taller. Okay, that might have been too tall.
Delete the other thing.
Okay, I keep making things worse. Every time I try to make it better, I seem to make it worse. Okay, well, in the interest of time, if I had more time, I could play around with it 5 more minutes, but I'm not going to play around with 5 more minutes. Okay, I'll try to fix this later, but you see where I'm going with this? You want it to look good. Like if I just stick it in some random place, I mean, that actually doesn't look all bad. It starts my indent there, but it kind of works. That doesn't look too bad. So I think I'll leave it there, because I'll probably make it worse if I move it around. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is put an image in. So we're going to put an image in, go to picture, and I'd probably just go to clip art gallery, be fine. And look for something that's got a computer code or something like that. Somebody on a computer. Okay. I clicked on communications. If you click on business, they might have some computer type stuff in there too. We want something computery. Okay.
Yes.
Here's at least a keyboard. It's not perfect, but what the heck, it'll work. So I bring in this image. Now the image, of course, okay, after you insert the image, it's going to go wherever your cursor is. Don't panic. If it looks weird where it is, don't worry. Just insert an image. Now when you click on that image, you might have to double click to get, I had to double click to get this menu to come up. But we want to go back to wrap text.
Tight.
Yep, and click on here and do it tight again. Now move the image wherever you think it looks good. And I'm not picky if it goes on your first page or your second page, but put an image on there. If you can fit it on your first page, that would be great. I'm actually going to do that. That's not all bad. Okay, so I have an image there. Now you could resize the image. You got some options there. But you see how word wrap is working? Word wrap will wrap it around there. There's ways you can edit that. I'm not going to go into all the details, but there's ways you can edit it. Now we already made a caption on our other practice assignment, but click on your image, go to insert, and go to caption.
Insert caption.
Yep, and then what thing is, you click on your image, you go to insert caption, it's going to bring this here up. Leave the figure 1 for now. You can delete it later after we insert it. And put here the internet.
Where's the insert?
It's on the insert menu. You have to click the image that you're going to put the caption on. If you don't click the image first, it won't put the caption on the right image. The internet has changed the way we live. Okay, just a caption. The internet has changed the way we live. Now you cannot delete the figure 1 right now. We will be able to delete it after we insert it. We're going to put it position below selected item. That usually is what you do. Leave this on figure and hit OK. Now it should have put in a little caption there. Now if you want to leave figure 1, I have no problem with that. If you want to delete it like I do, click here just after figure 1 down here in the caption text box and hit the delete button until figure 1 is gone. Now after I did that, I want my caption centered. So I'm going to click up here and center it. And if you want to make it italic, it's up to you. I usually make captions italic. So there's a caption. So that's a way to insert a caption. Okay, it is 10:30. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I would normally do to this. Oh, one last thing. This take us a sec. I'm getting hiccups now. Trying to go too fast. Take out your first line indent on the first paragraph. Why do you think we're doing that?
Because.
By the way, it didn't let me just delete it. So,
Uh-oh.
Okay, I don't know why it didn't let me delete it. So the workaround is to put my cursor in the first paragraph only, go to paragraph dialog box, and take out the first line indent by going to none. Okay, the reason for this is simple. What do you think we're going to put there as our last thing? Drop cap. Okay, so I took that out. I put my cursor here. I go to format, and all of you that were here for the practice know that we go to drop cap. We could just leave the default. 3 lines, click on the middle one, it says dropped. You leave the default fonts fine. 3 lines, hit OK. That looks pretty good. Now on quick glance, go ahead and do a save. You should have something that looks like it could be a magazine article. Okay, you see how we did that? We got 2 columns, we got drop cap, we got a what's called a pull quote with a text box. We put this stuff up here using a text box. We put an image in, we put a caption in, we use format. Now down here it looks kind of weird, just leave that, don't worry about that. Okay, go ahead and hit save, and we are done for the day. We are done with packet 3. And I gotta turn off my screen record here.